Good evening. You're watching the news tonight, your daily roundup of all that has happened across India and the world. I'm Ishan Russell, and these are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Centre takes action on rising food prices, decides to release 10,000 tonnes of pulses at subsidised rates to states. Union Cabinet clears new consumer-friendly aviation policy, new plan to cap airfares and ease rules for airlines to fly overseas by abolishing 5/20 rule. Ivory Coast seeks investment from private sector, signs agreement with India to reopen Exim Bank during President Pranab Mukherjee's visit. And the US Senate fails to recognize India as a global strategic and defense partner after key amendment to modify export control regulations falls through. And US President Barack Obama responds to Donald Trump's allegations, denounces his anti-Muslim rhetoric in the wake of the Orlando shootout. A top story this evening, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley today held a high-level meeting to address the price rise in food items. Government data released yesterday showed that annual wholesale inflation had risen in May to its highest level in nearly 2 years. Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari, Food Minister Ram Vilas Paswan, Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan Singh, Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian, along with top Finance Ministry officials, attended the meeting. The government is expected to prioritise creation of a buffer stock and a lifting of stock by state governments for retail distribution. Meanwhile, Union Food and Civil Supplies Minister Ram Vilas Paswan urged state governments to sell pulses below 120 rupees a kilogram. He said the centre will provide arhar and urad dal at reduced prices.
With prices of pulses hovering around 200 rupees a kilo, the centre is releasing 10,000 tonnes of tur and urad dal. States will be asked to distribute them at rates not exceeding 120 rupees a kilo. The government is also procuring over 62,000 tonnes of pulses to create a buffer stock.
राज्य सरकार से फिर अपील करना चाहते हैं कि राज्य सरकार 100 अपने स्टेट में देखे कि 120 रुपया से ज़्यादा कीमत पर जो है किसी भी हालत में जो है नहीं बिकने पावे, और यदि किसी राज्य में बिकता है तो उसके लिए राज्य सरकार जिम्मेवार होगी। राज्य सरकार को दाल चाहिए, हम उसको दाल जो है 66 रुपये तूर और 82 रुपये उड़द देने को तैयार हैं।
To bridge the demand-supply gap and maintain price stability, the centre is planning government-to-government contracts. Teams will go to Myanmar and other countries to finalize contracts.
गवर्नमेंट टू गवर्नमेंट भी जो है बातचीत चल रही है, और हो सकता है कि हम लोगों को गवर्नमेंट के स्तर से एक डेलीगेशन क्या कहते हैं कि बाहर क्या कहते हैं कि जल्द जाए और जा करके स्टेट टू गवर्नमेंट जो है बात करने का काम करे।
In 2015-16, domestic production of pulses decreased slightly to 170 lakh tonnes against 171 lakh tonnes recorded in 2014-15. But demand, on the other hand, rising at the rate of 10 lakh tonnes per year, touched 246 lakh tonnes this year, triggering a gap of over 76 lakh tonnes. The government has also launched an intensive drive to crack down on hoarders. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The Union Cabinet today cleared a new civil aviation policy that aims to make air travel more consumer-friendly. The new plan will replace the decade-old rule and ease rule for airlines to fly overseas by abolishing the 5/20 rule and increasing regional connectivity. Airline stocks as well jumped as much as 3 to 5% after the announcement of the new policy. The government, however, will come out with a separate regulation for helicopter operations.
The Union Cabinet cleared the much-awaited new civil aviation policy on Wednesday. Unveiling many consumer-friendly measures, the policy proposes to cap airfare at 2,500 rupees for one-hour flights between smaller towns and cities. It will refund 80% losses incurred by airlines due to the cap. For flight cancellations announced within 24 hours of departure, compensation has been raised to nearly 10,000 rupees. The target of 30 crore air tickets per year in the domestic sector by the year 2022 has been raised to 50 crore by 2027. For international travel, the target is 20 crore by 2027. The draft policy also proposes a 2% cess in domestic and international tickets for a regional connectivity fund. New airlines can operate overseas flights by relaxing the rule that acquired them to have at least 20 airplanes and be in operation for minimum 5 years can fly abroad. Revival of old airstrips, single window for all aviation-related transactions and complaints by the Directorate General of Civil Aviation are other important provisions in the new policy that also proposes real-time safety tracking.
The centerpiece of it is the commitment in the BJP manifesto of making regional connectivity a reality. So we kept it as a centerpiece and the whole policy has been worked around it.
The NDA government unveiled the policy draft first in November 2014. It went through several rounds of interministerial discussions in the last 18 months and was revised in October 2015. India has currently the fastest growing aviation industry with over 139.32 million domestic and over 50 million international air travelers in 2014-15. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the government today approved closure of 7 terminally ill public sector units in a phased manner. Of these, HMT Watches, HMT Chinar, HMT Bearings have already been shut. The remaining are Tungabhadra Steel Products, Hindustan Photo Films Manufacturing Company, Hindustan Cables and Spices Trading Corporation Limited. Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises Minister Anand Gite said that the government is proposing a one-time settlement of around 1,000 crore rupees for the employees of the 7 PSUs.
इन सारे 6 उद्योग में जो मजदूर वहाँ पर काम करते थे, जिनको 1997 के पे स्केल से पे मिलता था, और जब हमने VRS का पैकेज दिया तो इतना अट्रैक्टिव पैकेज दिया कि उनको 2007 के पे स्केल से VRS पैकेज हमने दिया। तो इसीलिए मजदूरी करके रिटायर्ड होने के बाद जितना मिलना था उससे ज़्यादा बिना मजदूरी किए उनको VRS पैकेज मिला।
The Enforcement Directorate filed fresh charges against British middleman Christian James and 2 others in the 3,600 crore rupee Augusta-Westland VVIP chopper scam. James had played a key role in swinging the deal for Augusta-Westland to supply 12 VVIP choppers in 2010. Augusta-Westland allegedly paid more than 375 crore rupees as bribe to secure the deal that was eventually scrapped by the UPA government in 2014. The ED is seeking his extradition from the UK, while the CBI also sent a request to the British government in January for his provisional arrest. This is the second charge sheet filed in the case by the Enforcement Directorate. The first was filed in November 2014. Now, 9-member BJP fact-finding team arrived at Kairana in Uttar Pradesh on Wednesday to take stock of the alleged reports of exodus by Hindu families. The team, led by BJP leader and MLA Suresh Khanna, met with protests from the locals. The state government has accused the BJP of polarization ahead of next year's assembly polls in the state.
The political climate in Kairana continues to boil over the exodus issue. A BJP probe committee reached Kairana on Wednesday. The 9-member team, led by senior BJP leader and MLA Suresh Khanna, said the situation in Kairana was bad owing to law and order problem.
We have observed that there has been a huge mass exodus of people from Kairana on various grounds, and principally what I can very in a confirmed way state is that there is a bunch of goons and there's a Gunda Raj happening in Kairana, owing to which people are leaving.
जो मीडिया में आया है उससे भी ज्यादा भयावह स्थिति है यहाँ, उससे भी ज्यादा भयावह।
यहाँ पर ये कहा जा रहा है कि लोग डर के मारे नहीं बोल रहे हैं कुछ।
ये बिल्कुल सही है, और मीडिया के साथ साथ भी कुछ लोग दूसरे घुस जाते हैं। मीडिया को भी जो बातें मिल रही हैं उसमें भी सच्चे नहीं है।
However, the state government and the opposition have accused BJP of polarization by raking up communal issues just before the polls.
इलाहाबाद से निराश और हताश भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पास अब एक ही हथकंडा रह गया कि कैसे हिंदू मुस्लिम को अलगाववाद किया जाए, सांप्रदायिकता फैलाई जाए और इस प्रदेश में कैसे बंटवारा किया जाए।
बीजेपी लीडरशिप totally stands exposed how they wanted to exploit the situation. It turned out to be totally the migration on the economic basis, not on the religious basis.
It is very clear. It is a design. It is a sinister design by BJP. UP is going to polls. They want to vitiate this situation. They want to communalize this situation.
Earlier, BJP MP from Kerala, Hukum Singh, had released a fresh list of 63 people who, according to him, migrated from Kandla town in Shamli district. He had also released a list of 346 persons who migrated to other places owing to what he claims was a threat to their life and property.
मैं अभी भी स्टैंड करता हूं अपनी रिपोर्ट के उसी लिस्ट के लिए और उसमें खामियां जो बात आ रही है वो केवल जिला प्रशासन अपनी फोर्स को लगा करके लोगों को आतंकित करके उनसे उल्टे सीधे बयान दिला रहा है.
The centre has sought a detailed report from the Uttar Pradesh government on the issue. Security has been tightened in and around the town where more political action is expected when controversial BJP MP Sangeet Som visits the city with his supporters on 17th of June. Ravinder Shoran's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more national news updates now nationwide. The CBI is reported to have found no conclusive proof of any political conspiracy behind the Vyapam scam. This has come as a relief to Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who was linked to the scam by the opposition. The CBI is yet to release its findings officially, though. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah announced a reshuffle of his cabinet today. The minister, however, did not reveal the number of ministers he intends to drop. He is expected to leave for New Delhi on Thursday with a list of probable candidates for approval from the party high command. The reshuffle is expected to be completed by the end of this month. Six students fell sick after consuming a midday meal in the government school in Doda in Jammu and Kashmir. They felt drowsy and started vomiting after the meal and were immediately rushed to a local hospital. The students had earlier complained of a stench coming from the food. A three-member team has been formed to look into the incident. A bus accident in Sonapur, Meghalaya left at least 30 dead and 11 injured. It happened when the bus skidded off the road and fell into a deep gorge. 11 bodies have been recovered so far. The injured are admitted to a hospital in Shillong. A 61-year-old man was injured in a bomb explosion at a court complex in Kollam, Kerala. The suspected country-made steel bomb was kept under an unused jeep. The man suffered minor injuries and is said to be stable. Police suspect that the explosive was deliberately placed under the jeep to create a scare. Time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervour dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Saina Nehwal, the first Indian to win a medal in badminton at the Olympics. The world number 2 ranked player is also the first Indian to win the World Junior Badminton Championships and the first Indian to win a Super Series tournament. Saina Nehwal in fact completed a hat-trick Super Series titles in 2010. That same year, she became the first Indian singles player to reach the final of the year-ending Super Series finals, defeating two-time All-England champion and former world number 1 Tine Bown in the semis.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, on second day of his visit to the Ivory Coast, President Pranab Mukherjee addressed a business forum of local businessmen. He said that India is looking forward to partnerships with the Ivory Coast in the agricultural processing sector and exploration of minerals. The president was also accorded with the Grand Cross National Order of the Republic of Ivory Coast, the country's highest civilian honor.
Ivory Coast has sought investment from India's private sector, particularly in processing the main ingredient of chocolates, cocoa, to further strengthen trade ties. The African nation is the world's leading producer and exporter of cocoa beans, supplying 33% of cocoa used in the manufacture of chocolate worldwide.
Your country is blessed with fertile soil and abundant agricultural and mineral resources. Our public and private sectors are keen to join you in exploring these resources efficiently and in setting up agro-based industries.
President Mukherjee extended his gratitude to Ivory Coast for keeping steady economic growth and called for reform of international organizations for better representation of countries.
The imperatives of strengthening the United Nations system and other international organizations. We would like to see them reformed so that they remain effective in addressing the challenges that confront the world today. In this context, India stands ready to shoulder greater responsibilities in the specialized organs of the United Nations, particularly its Security Council.
The two sides also signed an agreement to reopen the Exim Bank in Ivory Coast. It was relocated to Dakar in West Africa during the civil war.
Exim had started its regional office here in 1992. They had only one office left in South Africa. So today in front of the two presidents, they signed the agreement on headquarters agreement, literally. Basically, where the host government gives you various facilities as an international institution.
On Tuesday, President Mukherjee received a warm traditional welcome as he arrived in Ivory Coast on the second leg of his three-nation African tour. He was received at the airport by his counterpart, President Alassane Ouattara. This is the maiden visit of India's president to Ivory Coast and is part of India's outreach to Africa. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the United States Senate has failed to recognize India as a global strategic and defense partner after a key amendment necessary to modify its export control regulations could not be passed. A day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's recent address to the joint session of Congress, top Republican Senator John McCain had moved an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act. The passing of the bill would have recognized India as a global strategic and defense partner. The bill was passed by the Senate with an overwhelming bipartisan vote. However, some of the key amendments could not be passed. Without specifically mentioning this particular legislative move on India, McCain expressed disappointment that many key amendments could not see the light of day. The McCain amendment had asked the president to approve and facilitate the transfer of advanced technology to satisfy combined military planning with the Indian military for missions such as humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. And more news from America, where US President Barack Obama launched a stinging rebuke to Donald Trump's response to the Orlando massacre. He accused Trump of betraying American values by suggesting all Muslims were complicit in such attacks. Obama also warned that this would be a dangerous mindset that threatened the very nature of American democracy. However, Trump retorted that the US president seemed to be more angry with him than the Orlando shooter.
We've heard these suggestions during the course of this campaign. Do Republican officials actually agree with this? Because that's not the America we want. It doesn't reflect our democratic ideals.
The US president confronting the Republican presidential hopeful directly on his anti-Muslim rhetoric. Obama was reacting to Trump's remarks on the massacre of 49 people in Orlando by Omar Mateen, a US national with Afghan parents, on Sunday. Obama said religious tests are against the US Constitution, while noting that the recent terror attacks were carried out by people born in the US.
We hear language that singles out immigrants and suggests entire religious communities are complicit in violence. Where does this stop? The Orlando killer, one of the San Bernardino killers, the Fort Hood killer, they were all U.S. citizens. Are we going to start treating all Muslim Americans differently?
Donald Trump has demanded Obama's resignation for refusing to use the term radical Islam. The real estate mogul also claimed that Obama was either complicit or approved of Islamic terror attacks. He also reinforced his proposal to temporarily ban Muslims from entering US, saying his proposal could be implemented through unilateral executive action.
I watched President Obama today, and he was more angry at me than he was at the shooter. And many people said that. That's the kind of anger he should have for the shooter and these killers that shouldn't be here.
After the Orlando killings, Trump renewed his call for a Muslim ban, leading Obama to launch his strongest assault yet on the man expected to be confirmed as the Republican nominee next month. Obama's intervention also seemed motivated by a desire to help Hillary Clinton. The former Secretary of State lit into Trump herself on Tuesday, warning that Trump was temperamentally unfit to serve in the Oval Office. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Hillary Clinton scored an overwhelming victory over Bernie Sanders in the Washington, D.C. Democratic primary on Tuesday. Clinton won 79% against Sanders 21%, with more than two-thirds of the vote counted. This is the final event of the Democratic Party's 2016 primary contest, giving Clinton a valuable boost as she faces Donald Trump in the general election. Clinton, who was declared the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee last week, met with Sanders privately to search for common ground in the race against Trump. While Sanders continues to insist that his fight is not yet over, if not for the nomination, then at least for the issues that he stands for, Clinton has already turned her attention on the campaign trail to the race against Trump, rejecting his renewed calls for the ban of entry of foreign-born Muslims into the United States after the Florida mass shooting.
What Donald Trump is saying is shameful. It is disrespectful to the people who were killed and wounded and their families. And it is yet more evidence that he is temperamentally unfit and totally unqualified to be Commander-in-Chief.
Some more international news now in Global Buzz. China flexed its muscle in the Western Pacific Ocean as its observation ship shadowed a U.S. aircraft carrier during a naval drill exercise on Wednesday. Warships from Japan and India also participated in the drill close to waters that China has laid claim to in the Western Pacific. While Japan confirmed the spying, China defended itself, saying it was acting within the law. Murder convict and Paralympian Oscar Pistorius' sentence for the murder of girlfriend Riva Steenkamp will be pronounced on 6th of July. Pistorius is facing a minimum 15-year jail term for murdering Steenkamp in 2013, but his sentence may be reduced due to time already spent in prison and mitigating factors, including his disability. Twenty police officers and 6 civilians were injured in Paris on Tuesday as protests in the city over a labour reform bill turned violent. France has been witnessing strikes and demonstrations for weeks protesting against the new labour law bill that would allow employers more freedom to lay off workers and extend working hours. The police has detained 21 people. Temperatures in the month of May broke global records. According to NASA, the Arctic Circle in particular experienced abnormal heat, causing the Arctic sea ice and the Greenland ice sheet to start melting unusually early. While El Niño weather pattern factored in the record rise in temperatures, greenhouse gas emissions remain the main cause. Time for some sports now, and a dominant India completed a 3-0 whitewash, beating Zimbabwe by 10 wickets in the final one-day at Harare. The visitors once again came out with a top bowling performance as they bowled out Zimbabwe for just 123 runs. Jasprit Bumrah took another 4-wicket haul as the hosts collapsed after crossing the 100-run mark, losing their last 7 wickets for just 19 runs. In reply, both Indian openers KL Rahul and debutant Faiz Faisal hit half-centuries to take the side home in 22 overs.
Equally emphatic, in fact, increasingly emphatic. 10 wickets was in Sharjah.
Some more sports action now in Sports Beat. India remained in contention for a medal after defeating South Korea 2-1 in the Champions Trophy hockey on Tuesday. India's domination earned them a lead through SV Sunil's 39-minute goal, but South Korea equalized in the 56th minute. However, Nikin Timaya scored in the same minute to win it for the men in blue. India now has 7 points from 4 games and will take on Australia in the last league fixture on Thursday.
And it is been tipped in by Kim Joo-hoon, could pay the price for not doing more.
Minnows Iceland earned a 1-1 draw against Portugal in their European Championship debut. Cristiano Ronaldo-led Portugal got the lead through Nani, but Iceland's midfielder Jarnason levelled for the Scandinavians. Despite dominating the game, Portugal failed to break the deadlock. In another Group F match, Hungary stunned highly fancied Austria 2-0. In Copa America, Alexis Sanchez and Eduardo Vargas scored twice as Chile advanced to the quarterfinals of the Copa America with a 4-2 victory over Panama. The Chileans will now meet Group C winners Mexico in the quarterfinals on Saturday. Brazil sacked national coach Dunga on Tuesday after a humiliating group stage elimination from the Copa America. The exit from the Copa America was the latest blow to the demoralized Brazilian team, who are recovering from a 7-1 World Cup semi-final by thrashing by Germany. British top seed Andy Murray sailed into the second round of the Queen's Club tournament after a straight set victory over Nicolas Mahut of France. Murray, who reunited with his former coach Ivan Lendl, says saved both set points in both sets as he won 7-6, 7-6. Well, that's the news tonight. Good night.